everybody. Welcome to C3 Films. Today we are doing another episode of It Wasn't That Good on our very own Resident Evil 2022. Not to be confused with 2002. Very different. 20 years later. It's the most recent one on Netflix right now. And we're going to shut this down. I am Cheryl. This is
Chris.
And let's get to the trash talking.
Please start. I want to know what you have to say about this because you heard me at the end of our show last week, and I was like, I didn't want to color your view of this show, but I couldn't help but audibly, I guess, emit my disgust. So let's start. I want to start with how you felt and what was your journey? What was your journey like for this?
Yeah, I mean, so I like to go into it with an open mind, even though I hear bad things about it. But usually, when I hear bad things about something, it's usually for a good reason.
Unless it's Eternals, continue.
Unless it's Eternals. But like right off the bat, I had a problem with our heroine, I guess, talking on an iPad with her family, I guess you could say. And I was just confused because I was like, how are they having internet access right now? Don't people need to like manage that and stuff like that? But I mean, just like moving forward from that and just being like, let's just let that be a question that may or may not be answered later, because it seems like there's a lot of living people who are, surviving and living in a, I guess, dystopian world where they're just kind of learn to live with these zombies. But my other problem, and I think this is the biggest thing that really bugged me, was I, for the longest time, couldn't figure out if she was Jade or if she was Billy, because they weren't very clear about it and they weren't really physically defining or, giving them some kind of physical object or just something that could really connect the younger version to the older version. And
Hair.
I know, but like hair can change. So
That's not fair.
yeah, and I think what confused me the most was because they were always on Billy before they cut back to Jade in the future. So at first I was like, that has to be Jade because she looks more like Jade, but because they were always cutting from Billy, then I was like, oh, is that Billy? I'm not sure. So I had to wait until someone actually called her Jade for me to be like, okay, it is Jade. So that was another issue that I had, like, there's some editing things going on there. I'm sure there are tons of ways that you could really figure that one out, but I don't think the way that was put together was very smart, because I was just confused about who that was. But anyways, moving on from that one, the other thing that bothered me was like literally every character is annoying.
Yes!
Very annoying.
Worst. It's like actually the worst.
Like, I get it if they're trying to have like someone being annoying, but everyone's annoying.
And both of the sisters are annoying.
And it's not just that they're annoying, it's like they're making literal decisions to be annoying, and like that's just not really how people are. I'm sure there are some people out there who are like that. Like, I'm by all means not saying that someone like that doesn't exist. I'm sure 100% people like that do exist. But having all of those people in one episode of one show
and then tell us they're our main character.
Yes.
Our main characters.
Maybe not so much. So it's a little hard to watch because of how annoying they are. And I think like over time they become a little less annoying, but I guess the overall plot is not grabbing me enough to keep wanting to watch. Like, I was kind of done after the first episode, And I only watched the second episode because you told me that you watched two, so I was trying to match you on it. But otherwise, I would have stopped at one, and I would have been like, I have enough. I have enough detail to shut this down. So
I have enough ammo.
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me you didn't want to watch the second episode to see if she made the jump?
No.
That's like the only reason we watched it. We were like, well, let's see if she made the jump.
Well, so this went through my head. I was like, she's the main character. She was not going to die in the second episode from jumping off a wall. If she's going to jump off the wall, she's either going to do something really cool, or she's going to do something really stupid and someone's going to save her. And of course, it's the second one. And I like how I was literally shouting at the TV because she jumped off. So she jumped off the wall and she survived. She didn't really get hurt, which is one that's like really dumb. I can't like.
I was like, your legs should be broken, but whatever.
Yeah, and she doesn't even limp. She didn't even have a sprained ankle. She was completely fine. She jumps on this car, and the car. She jumps on the car, and then she climbs on top of the car, and then she goes, "Okay, now go." She climbs in the front of the car. Okay, now go. But if this was real, I feel like you would either get in the car or you would jump on the hood and be like, okay, go. Or jump on the back and hold on to something like a cable car.
Oh, I thought when she jumped on the back, she'd be like, yeah, I'm on,
and now go. But no, she takes a long time before she tells the guy to go. And then later, when she's like yelling for him to stop, like, stop, please stop, I'm like, girl, you just jumped off a wall. I'm sure you'd be fine if you jumped off the roof of this van.
or just push yourself back so that you're on the back of it now.
Slide off.
Just slide off to the back, and then you won't get hit by this like thing that's like hanging off this thing.
Yeah, I was like, of all things to be afraid of, this is not the one I would choose for you. But sure. And I also kind of was like a little. I don't understand why they would try to have her work out this deal with him. Like you help me, I help you, when they're literally just going to kill him off right away anyways. So there was just, I don't know why this is happening.
and see, so what you're bringing up is a lot of the issues that plague this show based off the first two episodes. It's just the logic doesn't make sense, and it asks you to really suspend your disbelief, but not in a way that is fair. It's asking you to just not think at all, and that's where I get really, really frustrated. Like, I already don't like Billy and Jade in the past. I don't mind Jade in the present or in the future or whatever. Like, fine, it's whatever, but like when they are kids, they are so grating. And like Jade is doing this whole thing where she is acting extra mad and extra like a brat to her father, who is just who as far as what we can see, like from what we can see, is like trying to make the best out of this, and she is just being the worst, the absolute worst. And then you have Billy, who is like nice but is also kind of annoying with how she just walks through life. You just get kind of annoyed with her. And I remember when I saw that first episode, the whole reason that the show can happen is because of the fact that these two girls break into a highly classified like facility to free bunnies. Like, no joke. They literally go to Umbrella because her sister, who is now, or because Billy, who was called boring by Jade, wants to prove that she's not boring by going to her father's job and doing something that could actively get him in trouble. Like, even if there wasn't, like, you know, zombie stuff in the facility, the fact that they are literally going to put their father's job at risk for some bunnies, it feels so dumb. And then even how they get in there, it is a highly secured facility. Like, I don't know if you guys have been to like buildings like Google or Facebook, but you can't get in there that easily without like a badge. And they get in with like a flashlight to block out the camera and a voice that's on their father's phone. And then when they go to his computer, they use the password that they say he uses for like all of his passwords. But if he works for Umbrella, which is a top secret organization, why would he use the same password for his top secret illegal government stuff that he would when he shares with his family? He wouldn't. And so the show just asks you to like be so dumb. It asks you to just to like look past so much. And it's so sad because I like Lance Reddick. I like the guy who's playing Albert Wesker. He's great. But oh my gosh, is the show around him such trash.
Yeah, nowadays, like a lot of secure places have two-step verification for your password, and it's really annoying because I have so many passwords and I have to do so many things just to log into my computer, and then after that I have to do another thing. It's just so much. But for them to just like sign on and stuff, there's no like night guard. I'm sure Umbrella Corporation can afford a night guard for their building.
Right.
So I don't know why they didn't have one, but well, okay, I guess they didn't have one because they needed
the story can happen.
The story to happen. But yeah, I mean that's just lazy writing, I think, in my opinion. To just like, let's just make it happen by omitting these things that would be reasonable. And then let's just have them do and say things that don't really make sense. So,
and
yeah,
is that even when they get in there, so Wesker has something that allows him to wipe all the hard drives and stuff like that. So fine, that's why they aren't like picked up on cameras or anything like that. And then now, she gets bit by a dog, and because she's gotten bit, now she's going through this whole thing where she's like turning and whatnot. But the whole thing about that is just that it's not, for 2 episodes in, it's just not that interesting. And I think that that's really unfortunate that it just doesn't work that well. And it becomes like legitimately frustrating to sit down and watch the show because the things that are happening aren't that interesting, and the characters that are doing the things aren't that interesting and are on the contrary very annoying. Or like in the first episode, they'll have moments that are meant to be like a cool moment that they then try to do like the Marvel thing of undercutting with humor. They're in the future scene where Jade has just been betrayed by the people who rescued her, and they're going to give her off to Umbrella. And then the guy that's looking for her comes down, and the camera's doing this cool pan, and it's playing like this evil music. And then he's walking down the steps, and then he kind of like stumbles and falls. And you're just like, okay, I guess you're trying to make him seem like a buffoon, but what's the point? Like, do you want, if he is not worthy of me being scared, then why do I need to have tension in the scene right now? Also, why would they start killing everybody before they secure the person they came to get? Like, it is so irritating because of the fact that you want writers to write a story as if the characters within it are smart. Because then when they find ways to solve those problems, if you're creative about it, then it feels like more worth it when they make it through. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was very frustrating. I was actually going to say one of my other big comments was how dramatic the music was when that guy was walking down the stairs and then he trips, and it's like kind of comedic, but then like the music is still intense, and I almost wish like the music had started to get more intense when they started shooting, instead of before when he's like walking down. But yeah, like there were a lot of moments where it wasn't even just that. It was when Billy was looking at the bunnies. The music was so intense, and I was like, what is with this music? It's just bunnies. I feel like instead of like deep, intense music, it should be kind of like a piqued curiosity, kind of lighter thing, like for a child being like, oh, I'm discovering something. And then
Mm.
maybe it can get a little bit more intense when she's doing research on Google and like, finding out all this information. Then it gets really intense. So I feel like it was a really big miss for the music on this show. Huge, huge miss. I, I don't know. I feel like this has to be one of the worst matchups for a score on anything we've ever seen.
Yes, yes, I definitely agree with that, and I also just think that it's one of the what is it? How do I want to say this? I think that it's one of the things that we've watched in recent times that also just doesn't work because it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like even when we like when I watch this show, it reminds me of a CW show, specifically with all like the teen drama type stuff that we watch, or like teen drama type feeling stuff that happens in the past in the 2022 timeline. But it's crazy to me too because like we've seen CW shows that work better than this. But I also looked up some of the people that worked on this, and one of the people that worked on this worked on CW shows actually. So it actually explains a lot about why the show has the tone that it does. But when we watch like we talked about the 2002 Resident Evil movie and how that still feels like a Resident Evil movie for as someone that comes from the games. But when you watch this, there's nothing about it that really feels Resident Evil. Like, sure, they got like Umbrella and everything like that, and they're doing kind of their own unique original story. But the whole team drama aspect of it just isn't engaging enough to really feel like it's Resident Evil. Now, it's possible it does get better. Once again, I do want to like reiterate, we have only watched 2 episodes, but the point is that within those 2 episodes, there has been nothing that I've seen so far outside of like morbid curiosity that would get me to sit down and watch this show through to completion.
Yeah, I mean, they do kind of give her this storyline of needing to get back to her family and such, where, her daughter's in a place where she can take ballet lessons and not have to be with her father. So that kind of intrigued me because I'm wondering, like, what does the society look like? What is it built
Right.
like? There's, like, the whole world still kind of being under the wing of the Umbrella Corporation in the sense where they kind of control everything and they have to kind of work around whatever Umbrella wants. And you kind of get to see a little taste of that because you're seeing them in this like fortress that gets blown up, and then she goes and finds this old lady looking for a contact, and I don't know who this person is that she's looking for, but he's dead. And so, that whole bit was kind of interesting, just being able to see that world building. But ultimately, with all the other things going on, honestly, I feel like the future when Jade is older is a lot more compelling than the past, and I kind of almost wish that they didn't visit the past at all. I mean, we didn't see enough to see why it's important that we see the past, but uh, just having watched the first 2 episodes, I feel like it would have been better if they just kind of fortified this one timeline better. I was gonna say I don't know if it's because I don't really like time jumping, but but you didn't like it either, so.
I mean, I think the time jumping is probably okay if the things we're jumping between are interesting. Like you watched The Prestige with me, and one of the things you were talking about, like you generally liked The Prestige and like how that story was being handled, if I remember correctly, right? And that one has a lot of like time jumping in between, and like that can get confusing. But if it's interesting, then you'll bear with it. And the show just tries to do these weird things where they want to kind of, I guess, subvert your expectations, but not in any way that feels earned. When Billy is at, when Billy, who also when we were introduced to her is listening to Billie Eilish, go figure. She's at her school and she's sitting by herself, and you see this girl getting picked on, and then the girl getting picked on goes and sits next to her, and then proceeds to pick on Billy. And I was like, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do, But at the same time, this doesn't read as true because this girl just got picked on and feels bad about it. She's probably not immediately going to jump on picking on somebody else. That's just not how people work. She could eventually become that, but in this moment where she's feeling low, most of the time, most people would just be like content to just be and aren't going to immediately jump into full on let me fight you now, especially because of the fact that you seem weaker than me. There's an argument to be made that if that was the thing of, hey, go beat that girl up and we'll talk to you, or she was getting picked on and she's like, oh, maybe if I beat someone else up then I'm popular, but that's not what the character actually does. And so it just like when it just elevates to, oh, we eat the vegans, and now she's on top of her like trying to fight her, you're like, wait, what? How did we get here? Like, and that just happens so often with this show in these first 2 episodes, just asking like, how did we get here? Why are we doing this right now? And like, that's not to say there's nothing that I liked in it. I liked the scene where Wesker threatened the dad and the girl that hurt his daughter, but I think a lot of that is attributed to Lance Reddick as an actor and him being able to deliver those lines in a very malicious and cool way. Like, he has a cool voice as well, so it's fun to listen to him talk. So like, any scene that he's in, I find myself being more engaged, but whenever he's not in it, I'm angry.
Yeah, it just kind of falls apart, especially with, not to say that the 2 young ladies cannot act, it's just they weren't really given characters that felt fleshed out. They were a little one-dimensional, but at the same time, they're both also very hot and cold. Like, they're either, it's kind of like a I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you kind of thing, and it's like it's not even like a gradual thing, it's just like a snap. Like, they will just snap in and out of love and hate between the 2 of them. Jade always hates her father, but it was just, I don't know, it just feels like they needed, for all the time that they're getting in the show, it doesn't feel like they are having enough to work with in terms of growing their characters and establishing what their characters are in relationship to everybody and anybody in the show.
Yeah, and I think that's like I think that's actually one of the things that is the biggest criticism of a couple of modern day shows, sadly. I mean, or modern day even movies, but not just being so on the nose. Like, you can make characters that believe in animal rights without making that be the only thing that makes them a person. You can have a character be angry without that being the only thing that makes them a character. And like, Billy and Jade only exist as these one-note emotions, and the writing dictates that they use those emotions to carry the story. And 1, that's just not interesting, but 2, if those emotions are traits that your viewer is not going to like, it's going to be harder to stick with them because we don't like this one thing that you're using to define this character, as opposed to it being a well-rounded character that has things we like and things we don't like, but we're willing to stay on board because there are things that we do like, as opposed to just being the fact that we hate this character. Even if we hate this character but we like to hate this character, then that's another reason. But it's not even that. We don't even like to hate this character, we just hate this character.
Yeah, and the other thing that really bothered me is just the reaction time to things. Like at the beginning when that giant caterpillar, and I was like, is this from the game or something? Why is it so big? But after it like throws Jade down on the car, it's like, whoa, I'm gonna dance around a little bit, and now I'm gonna
get
eat you.
I'm gonna get you.
And then intervention. And then, like, the other thing is, I mean, these 2 girls are not going to outrun a dog. So that whole scene was just like, good grief. I can't, like, okay. So I had a dog and I live with my dog, and I always like ran away from her to like, to play, and she always gets me in like 2 seconds, and I'm like, I can't hide from her. It's too hard. She's too fast. No, no.
Yep, yep.
They have
And
four
also,
legs. We have two.
also, the funny thing about that, now that you bring that up, one of those things is like, I'm gonna assume heightened sense of smell, but they got into an elevator. Remember, they got into an elevator when they ran away from that dog. How that dog know what floor they got off on?
Mhm. And then when it got into the room and they're hiding in the same room, why did it have such a hard time finding them?
Oh, right. Why is it jumping on the table like, where y'all at? Even
Where
though
is
when he
it?
comes in the room, he's at the same level that they would be.
Yeah.
It's,
I think it would have been more interesting if they had like kind of worked together to distract the dog to pull it in
different
two
directions.
two directions instead of just running and hiding. And that would have given them a chance to play around with the set a little bit more, to
Yeah.
use different things and different tools and set pieces or special rooms to kind of, obstacle the dog.
Yeah, and
But
and those are just it just needs to be smarter because even when they do hide from the dog initially, they run into that room and they lock the door, which is smart, right? Then when the dog goes away, they go to the door and Billy's hands on the door and she unlocks it because they're about to come out, and then the table like makes noise, and then they just run away from the door and go hide again, without her just relocking the door, and like when you see her at the door, you ask yourself why doesn't she just lock it again? And like I know it really sounds like we're nitpicking a lot here, but it's also just about the logic of the world making sense. When characters don't do things that seem obvious, then you feel like it's only happening because of the writing, because the story needs it to happen. And then that doesn't feel good. Your viewership, like people are smart, and at the very least people notice things. They know how they would react in situations. So I get that the story has to happen, but you got to find this balance between the things that you need to happen happening and feeling organic to what's occurring around these characters, because when it doesn't, it just feels forced and stupid. I dare say that's like, yeah, I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a combination of all these things that we are nitpicking at. When you have like one or two things that you question, you can kind of get over it and just accept it because the rest of it is so good or so intriguing that you forget about the little things. But in this one, like, it's just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, and things just not working, and collectively everything just isn't working or making sense, and you're asking a whole lot of questions. It distracts you. And that's like, when I was saying when I couldn't quite understand which girl the main character was, it was very distracting because I was trying to pay attention to like what hint, what clue are they gonna give me to confirm that this is her, because they don't say her name, or they don't say her name enough. Maybe I just missed it at the beginning, but you can't do a cut like that. You can't edit it like that and then expect me to know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that one really bothered me. If you can't,
I see that. There's not much else I have to say. We only saw 2 episodes, so this isn't like some of the other things we've done where we talk about a whole season like we did with Stranger Things. Like, literally, it's only 2 episodes. And I feel like we went through a lot with these 2 episodes about what we didn't like. I don't know that I'm going to go back and watch this to see it done. And that's too bad, because, like I said, I like Lance Reddick as an actor. I was cautiously optimistic about another Resident Evil property. I always am when they come out with these things. I'm always, as a video game lover, I'm thinking to myself, this might be the one that does okay. And I'm like, oh man, Resident Evil as a show seems to make sense, but some of these other things I don't necessarily like. So I don't know. Oh God.
I would
Oh
rather
no.
watch Titans.
Oh yeah, I actually think I'd rather watch Titans.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, oh.
I like Titans. It's just hard to watch. This is just bad. This is
You
just, it
like the
doesn't make
characters.
sense.
That's what it is.
Yeah, like they're not interesting and they're all annoying, as opposed to Titans. So we're not gonna talk about Titans.
Yeah.
If you want to hear about our opinion on Titans, you can see it on our YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Or Facebook.
Or on Facebook. And if you want to hear us talk about this and more that aren't on our YouTube channel, you can check us out on our twitch.tv/Sleep3Films. Be great to see you guys over there. But is there anything else that you have left in the tank, Cheryl, for this? I think I'm all tapped out for this show, but anything that you have?
Nope, that was it for me. Covered everything.
Okay. Yeah, we want to get out of here. Point is, and Cheryl didn't even get the spoiler warning at the beginning, so sorry if we spoiled you, but we did you a favor. If you made it to this part of the video, we did you a favor. Don't watch it unless you just are morbidly curious. But even then, get yourself ready. So that's what we thought about Resident Evil 2022 Netflix show. What did you guys think about it? Have you seen it? Do you think that the show, are we being too harsh? Do you think that the show is good? Do you think the show gets better? Do you think that all the Paul W.S. Anderson movies combined are better than this show? Whatever you thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though. I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we will see you all next time.